Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Mondays with Meeks. Recording today's intro virtually, actually from home. Before we jump in, I really want to just wish you guys and say that I hope that you had a very happy Thanksgiving holiday. I hope you were able to spend time with friends and family, especially during these challenging times with the ever changing health orders and the ever changing issues going on with the pandemic. Just wish you guys well. Hope things went well over the Thanksgiving holiday. Um, for you guys that are currently enrolled in the fall semester, I want to tell you guys good luck. You've got finals coming up here pretty quick. I hope you guys push through, do well, and just overall good luck with those final exams coming up. I do want to say, once finals are over, your semester is not quite over. I would encourage you guys to take some time, keep checking your student email account. You're going to receive financial aid updates. If you applied for graduation, there may be some graduation updates in there. So don't quite lose complete touch with us once the semester is over. Keep monitoring that student email account and be checking for important updates that are coming up. Now, for those of you wanting to enroll for the upcoming spring semester that starts in January, that's happening right now. You can register for classes online. You can call the Advising Center at 575-624-7294. They're doing phone appointments. They're doing virtual appointments like this on Teams, on Zoom if needed. So you guys reach out, get registered for spring. And also, while we're talking about the spring term, um, there are tens of thousands of dollars available in foundation scholarships. Please, guys, you can apply now for the upcoming spring term. You can check out all that information, including the applications, on our scholarships webpage. Also, along with that, we're excited. We're moving towards electronic scholarship submission. So we're working really hard on getting that up and running. We're hoping to have it ready to go by the time the spring semester begins, but don't let that stop you from applying for those scholarships now. The ENMU Roswell Foundation has supplied tens of thousands of dollars for the spring term. So get out there, check out those applications, check out those scholarships, and submit as many as you'd like. There's a general foundation scholarship application, and there's several other foundation scholarships that are available. Check them out. If you have questions, you can reach out to our scholarship coordinator. But all the information is there on our scholarships webpage. Something else to sort of let you guys know is this week's program feature. Pretty excited about. We're gonna visit the behavioral sciences area. Now, because of some circumstances, we ended up having to record that virtually, but we're really excited. We sat down with Edna Yokum. She's the program director for the behavioral sciences program, and we really get to get a bird's eye view of what's going on in the behavioral sciences area. What are the different careers you can pursue, and then all kinds of fun information. And we had a blast sitting there talking with Edna. So if you get a chance, check that out. It's coming up right after this intro. Again, thanks for watching this week's episode of Mondays with Meeks.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Mondays with Meeks. Today we're going to do a program feature with the Behavioral Sciences program. We've got Edna Yokum. She is a program director and the instructor for the Behavioral Science program. Also learned recently that she is a newfound obsession with birds. It's a new brought on by COVID craziness. And so we're excited to dive into that in a little bit. But Edna, thank you for being with us today. Before we start talking about behavioral sciences, you want to give us a little rundown on the bird obsession?
Sure. So I feel like some people are like making sourdough bread or figuring out really cool recipes. And I, on the other hand, became obsessed with birds. And so my students this semester have kind of been following this evolution of an obsession, which is somewhat appropriate for a behavioral science instructor. But it started with hummingbirds. And so I got a couple of hummingbird feeders in my backyard. And really, what fed this obsession was COVID, in the sense of my setup to teach was looking out in my backyard. So I wanted something to look at that was interesting. So I got some hummingbird feeders, and that's been really cool, but they've migrated. So now I'm watching some Brewster sparrows and some house finches and an occasional feisty blue jay that's stealing my pecans.
That's awesome. I kind of want to just jump straight in, and would you mind just telling us a little bit about what behavioral sciences is and about the program?
Sure. Thanks for having me. So, behavioral sciences sounds kind of weird, and it's actually a newer type of program. So, before we had behavioral sciences, we had an anthropology degree and a sociology degree and a psychology degree. But what universities are doing are consolidating those programs, especially at the undergraduate level, because there's a lot of overlap. And so we can attract more students to our program because we're pulling from those kind of three camps, as it were, and um, more schools have more programs in the behavioral sciences degrees, but ours is pretty limited just based on the expertise of our faculty and the needs of our students. So behavioral science, again, is kind of what I talked about, is anthropology, sociology, and psychology, and political science actually like falls underneath behavioral sciences. That doesn't have its own degree plan, although Mr. Villegas is our main poli sci instructor, although we have another wonderful adjunct. But those courses all fall within our degree. And so we're really excited about that.
So let's say I'm a student and I decide I want to come to Enemy Roswell and I want to get a degree in behavioral science.
Mhm.
What do I do after that?
That's an excellent question. So, the number one thing that I would say is to speak to an advisor. So, the advisors in the One Stop Center are amazing resources who can help you get on the right degree plan. But if you're interested in digging deeper, then you would reach out to me. So, I would meet with you and we would talk about the options. There are some electives that you can choose between. So, we'd kind of talk a little bit about what you want to do when you quote grow up. I'm a huge fan of people who are just becoming their best selves. So I don't care what age that is, we're all becoming our best selves. But you would work with the advisors at the One Stop Center, but then also with me as the program director to make sure that you have the right course loads to get you enrolled in the courses and make sure on a track to success. But also understanding that although you get your associate's degree from us, you have to go on generally to another four-year university. So we are the building block that's needed to get to a four-year institution. And it's a great way to kind of dabble into a couple of those different fields. If you're not 100% sure, it's more cost effective and you get better instruction because our class sizes are smaller. So we're really excited about our program.
Okay, so you mentioned being able to dabble into some different areas. I assume that that means that there are different directions, career directions that you can take once you complete not only your associate degree but your four-year degree. Can you talk about what some of those career choices might be?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for asking that, because I actually think that's one of the most exciting things to talk about. If you're just talking about the courses, I was a student. I remember I was like, oh, tests and homework, and that's not the fun stuff, right? It's really what are you going to be able to do with your degree, and why would you want it? So, just kind of the broad overview. There's many, many more possibilities than what I could mention in this session, but one of the main ones that we're going to start with is being a social worker. And you can do that in a lot of different capacities, but basically, you're working within our systems to help support vulnerable people, whether that's children or the elderly or people who have hit hard times. And we have some, I love pop culture references. My students don't always recognize them as much as I'd want because I'm older than they are, but in Precious, Mariah Carey plays the role of a social worker helping this teenage girl kind of with her struggles in life. In Free Willy, which is one of the movies I loved growing up, the young kid had a social worker. He was this rough kid on the street and had a dedicated social worker that wasn't going to let him fail. But so social working is a huge one, and that actually is a great career path in Chavez County, because we have a plethora of social service programs in our county, more than most counties, I would say. But New Mexico in general has a lot of social service programs. So there's a lot of job opportunities if that's the path you wanted to follow. If you wanted to do anthropology or archaeology, obviously, Indiana Jones is our pop culture reference for that one. He got to travel all over the world, going to digs and exploring again what people left, right? So, the study of people's trash, ironically, is really important to us learning about cultures that we no longer can communicate with. But then also, anthropologists work within the criminal justice world. So, if you follow Bones, she is a forensic anthropologist, so she uses her knowledge of studying the bones to be able to tell the FBI more about their victims that they wouldn't be able to know before without her help. So that's kind of anthropology. And if you're just interested in studying people, anthropology is a really good degree. You can study people that you identify with. Maybe you're a Hispanic person and you want to know more about the Hispanic experience in the United States. Totally studyable within anthropology. Maybe you want to look at gang activity in your town. That's an anthropology topic. Maybe you want to travel to like an exotic island in the South Pacific and study the people that live there. That is also an anthropology degree. So can be really fun. And then when we think about the psychology side, which is not my expertise, right? That's not kind of the subject that I am most familiar with, but they tend to have the best representation in Hollywood. So criminal justice shows, profiling shows are really hip right now. So Mindhunter, Criminal Minds is a good one. And these are people who get degrees in behavioral sciences and psychology, who then use that to think like the serial killers or the criminals so that they can track them down. So getting jobs in law enforcement, in the FBI, or even in local law enforcement kind of is that career path, which a lot of people think is interesting. Then as part of that is the therapy side. And that I feel like a lot of people know somewhat about that, but you can think of this is where I really show my my historical TV roots. But you have Dr. Bellows and I Dream of Jeannie, where he was able to kind of help the main characters deal with this like really fantastical woman who makes magic things happen that nobody understood. And he was a psychologist for NASA. And then you have the therapist in MASH, right? So MASH is that show about a military hospital in Korea, and they dealt with some really serious things with humor, right, to help drive the show. But the therapist really helped some of those main characters unpack some of the damage and the PTSD that was developing in some of those main characters. The last one that I think is a new developing field that might be interesting to our athletes is sports psychology. So there is a growing field of psychologists that are specifically working with athletes, either amateur athletes, but more specifically professional athletes, to help them deal with stress or strain. Um, for example, in Tin Cup, which is a Kevin Costner movie, he's a golfer. He's an amazing golfer, and he kind of hits this wall or this roadblock, and he's not able to golf, and he can't figure out what's wrong. And so a therapist is hired, and she works to help him kind of overcome those things, those barriers that he has in his mind. And so we're really excited about this new field. And again, if that's something that's interesting to you, the entry point is the behavioral sciences degree here at EMU or Roswell. Again, you have to go on. You got to continue on the education path. It's not a one-stop shop. But if that's something that's interesting to you, or any of those other degrees, I think that's really important.
Really. So, so it sounds like, I mean, you can really take this in just about any direction. And you guys have a great thing going. It's a fantastic launching pad for students to sort of figure out what direction they really want to go. And then I know, between yourself and the advisors, really pointing them in that right direction as far as following up after the degree. You guys do a great job of that. Is there any final thoughts that you want to share, and anything that we missed, or anything that you want to really touch on before we kind of close out here?
No, I mean, I say no, but I really mean yes. I think that a key component of almost all of the associates of arts degrees is that they have that built-in gen ed certificate, right? And so that really, if you're thinking about a transfer degree in any capacity, our associates of arts degrees are a really great way, because I know that I have some students who are like, well, why would I finish my degree if I'm going to go get a bachelor's anyways? And one of the reasons is because it helps with that smoother transition of your coursework to get to whatever four-year institution you're going to. So I think that's a major component. And then I did want to showcase our courses for the spring, because we have some really exciting ones, just as a little promo for our coursework. But in addition to our typical courses, we're also focusing on revamping and restructuring our contemporary social problems course. And so that one will be brand new, and we're really excited about kind of the new direction that that course is going in. Cultural anthropology is an amazing course. I love teaching it. It is classified as a gen ed course. So if you're needing a gen ed in social and behavioral sciences, anthropology works on that one. But I think our department is going in the right direction. We're working on revamping some things. Some of our faculty have moved on to some really exciting new positions on campus, but they're still an integral part of our program. And I'm really excited about it. So I hope you all contact us and ask more questions.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So spring registration is happening right now. You guys can contact the advising center. You can contact Ms. Yokum directly. Probably an email is going to be the best way, and we'll get the email posted on the screen or listed in the comments below. So really, I want to just say thank you for spending some time with us and talking to the students and prospective students about your program. I hope you have a great rest of the semester, and I hope you have a great spring semester.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Meeks, for inviting me. It was a great time. And then, there's another one that I'm trying to think of. I don't remember. Just a minute. This is where Kyler's going to edit, right? Oh, Lilo. So Lilo and Stitch.